let's get to our morning business report. Apple sees big demand for the new iPhone 17.
And Walmart is addressing rumors that it will close stores this week as SNAP benefits lapse. Jane King is live at the New York Stock Exchange with those stories and much more. Hey, good morning, Jane.
Hi, Tracy. Caitlin, good morning. Yes, Walmart pushing back on these viral social media rumors, falsely claiming that it will close stores tomorrow amid looting threats tied to the possible lapse in federal food assistance funding. So Walmart says it's false. The stores will be open as usual. One video on TikTok said that only people would be allowed to order online. But again, Walmart says not true. Okay, according to the USDA and global data, Walmart has about 25% of all SNAP spending. So that translates to billions of dollars a year from SNAP recipients who spend an average of $2,200 per year at the retailer. Well, Apple's newest iPhone is getting a strong reception, something CEO Tim Cook calls off the charts. Now, Cook said several iPhone models were supply constrained during the quarter. Not just the new 17, but also last year's 16 also was in shorter supply. And the company's service business, that subscriptions like Apple Music, grew 15% to about $25 billion in total sales. And Chipotle shares way down yesterday. The chain says that store traffic is not as robust. They slashed the sales forecast. In particular, millennials and Gen Zers aren't coming in as much. They say really they've struggled since the pandemic getting people to come out, especially with inflation. The CEO says the chain does not need, though, to turn to discounting yet. And stocks closed lower yesterday. Meta and Microsoft fell. Investors are worried about spending on AI and how much there is on spending on AI and when that might pay off. Although we're looking higher this morning, especially the NASDAQ. Live from the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Jane King. Back to you.